Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Mercedes and thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to show you how I make dinner from stuff from the food pantry. I get a lot of questions. There's a lot of people that are going to the food pantry that have never gone before, and there's some navigating to do. I've pretty much eaten like this my entire life. But I understand that when there's change, things can be overwhelming. And I want to show you guys how to make meals out of the stuff that you get from the food pantry. The things that I'm using today are extremely easy, extremely cheap. So even if you don't go to the food pantry, you can get a lot of the supplies for very cheap. But I'm going to show you guys, and this is a meatless meal. So I don't eat a lot of meat or dairy, just a personal preference. I have a dairy allergy. And it actually is a lot cheaper and a lot better for you to eat less meat and dairy. Now, I don't want to hear people be like, oh, you got to have protein, you got to have this. Yes, you do have to have protein, but the amount of protein that the average American gets is way more than what we need. So if you look it up online, you can calculate how much protein that you need, and you can get a lot of protein from beans and rice and vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you guys what a meal looks like for me, meatless and dairy-free, and I hope that you guys enjoy. So these are all items that I got from my local food pantry. I got some rice, I got some pinto beans, I got some beautiful colored peppers, I got a shallot. I call this a purple onion, and I was told by a very kind subscriber that they're shallots. I always call onions, but I know that they have different names. But anyway, so I have a shallot, and then I have just a regular onion. And I'm going to put these together, and I'm going to make a meal for myself and my boyfriend. And I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing that. So to start with, I have my beans in my crock pot. Now, I cooked these on low while I was at work. So what I did first was, if you guys are new to cooking dry beans are a much cheaper option, and they're much healthier because a lot of the stuff has a lot of salt and sodium, and we do need salt, and it makes things taste better. But if you have a salt issue, which a lot of people do, hypertension and all that kind of stuff, you can control how much salt is going into your food by using these staple ingredients and adding it yourself. Plus, you can add whatever seasonings that you prefer. I prefer a lot of garlic, so I use a lot of garlic powder, a lot of onion powder, and that's just a personal preference. So I did turn it on high just now, but it was on low. And my beans should be all done. So what I did was I soaked them overnight in the crock pot. Then before work, I drained them. That's how you prevent some of the gas from eating beans, is if you cook them in the same water that you let them sit in, it's more likely that you're going to get gas. You're still going to get gas because it's beans, but it does cut down on that amount. And I'm sorry to talk about gas, but that's just something, that happens. So the beans are very soft. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain most of the water. You do want to keep a little bit. And you could use an immersion blender or a food processor. I have a food processor, but it actually is at my parents' house because I recently moved. And that is still on top of my mother's fridge. So I'm going to go get that this weekend. But for tonight, I am just going to improvise and use my potato masher. But you could leave the beans whole. It's completely up to you. I'm not going to mush them completely, just a little bit. But if you want to go for a more like a refried bean, then you'll want to use a food processor or immersion blender or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and drain some of the water out of this, and I will be back. I wanted to go ahead and get the rice going. So you use 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, And then I use some bouillon cubes. So technically this is not vegetarian because I'm using chicken bouillon, but you could use vegetable bouillon, you could use beef, whatever you have, or you could just use seasonings if you don't eat meat. Now, what you're going to want this to do is you're going to want it to come to a boil, a steady boil. Then you are going to turn it down to a simmer, and it'll simmer for about 15 minutes, maybe 20, depending upon your stovetop. And you want to simmer it with the lid on. I'm about to get the lid. And you can also add some butter, some oil, coconut oil, margarine, whatever your preference is. You don't have to. And again, if you're not going to use the bouillon cubes, you could use whatever seasoning that you like. But we want to bring out the most flavor in this. And this bouillon that I actually got this at the Dollar Tree. They just started selling it. So you get 15 cubes for $1, which is pretty good. So we're going to get this going. Oops, sorry guys. We're going to get this going. You could also use a rice cooker. You can also cook rice in the microwave. I've never cooked rice in the microwave like that before, except for like the nori sides. I've done that, but that was years and years ago, and we don't even have a microwave. But anyway, so it's going, and we are going to turn it way, way down so that it's going to simmer. And again, you guys know your oven, I mean your stovetop, and mine gets pretty hot, so I'm going to have it super, super low. All right, we're going to go ahead and get the lid on this. And while that's cooking, I'm going to cut up the peppers, the onion, the shallot, and I'm going to work on my beans. All right, guys, so my rice is all done. I've got it off, and I've just got it letting it sit, and it's going to steam a little bit. Then my peppers and onions are done. I added some vegetable oil and salt, garlic, and some thyme leaves. All the seasoning that I added was from the Dollar Tree. And I just have those on low because I'm still working on my beans. So I wanted to do the beans last just so they stayed warm. As you can see, there's still some liquid in there. That's a personal preference, how much liquid that you want to keep in there. Especially it depends if you're going to use the beans whole or blend them up as like refried beans. And I'm just going to squish them up a little bit. Now remember, these beans are completely plain, so in order to get some good flavor, you want to add some good seasoning that you like. So I'm adding garlic powder, chopped onion, and salt. The garlic powder is from from Walmart, and the onion and salt are from the Dollar Tree. So this is my like potato masher, and I just want to mash them up a little bit, and then I will taste them for flavor and see if it's where you want to be. Now, so you do want to add quite a bit of seasoning, but again, it depends how much you're going to be, how many beans you've got, because I've got a small bit here because it's just the two of us. But if you want to do a huge batch of beans or a small batch, that's up to you. It depends if you want leftovers. And cooked beans really freeze really well too. So you want to go a little light on the seasoning, especially if you're new to cooking dry beans, because you can always add more, but you can't take it out. So just keep that in mind. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and taste these. I think the flavor is pretty good. Yep. What I am going to add is some thyme leaves. And I'm going to add a little bit of oil just to give it a little more deeper of a flavor. For dinner tonight, I am having pinto beans, white rice, and peppers and onions sauteed. Okay guys, so everything is done. As you can see, I've got rice, beans, and the sauteed peppers and onions. And there's a lot left over too, which is really nice. So we've got a good bit of beans left. This is a small crock pot, but as you guys can see, there's a good bit in there. But you could do an entire bag of pinto beans or red beans or whatever you want. And you could cook them on the stovetop or a pressure cooker or an Instapot, a bigger crock pot, whatever you want to do. Then we have a good bit of rice left, and this was from a cup of rice. So that shows how far that it goes. And here is the leftover peppers and onions. So the peppers and onions, the rest of those will be for my boyfriend's dinner. And then he'll get some rice and beans, and then whatever's left over we'll probably either have as part of dinner tomorrow or leftovers for lunch or something like that. I'm not really sure, but this will be really good. Okay guys, so as you can see, that's the kind of stuff that I make from the food pantry staples, and these are just basic staples that most people can have access to from the 99-cent store, the Dollar Tree. I think in Canada you guys call it the Dollarama, or a food bank, a food pantry, Walmart, Giant Eagle, Martin's, Kroger, all those kinds of things. You can get this stuff relatively cheap. The peppers and onions, especially peppers, they can be pricey, but something that I do if I don't find them on a good deal or they aren't given to me, you can go to the Dollar Tree. If your Dollar Tree has a frozen section, they have mixed peppers and onions, and they're pre-cut, and you can get a bag of them. And so I've used that before. Now, if you really want some meat, you could fry up a hot dog, a burger, chicken patty, what have you. We're just doing meatless tonight. You could also sprinkle some cheese on those beans, some sour cream. There's lots of different options. Use what you guys have. We actually have cheese and sour cream in the fridge, and my boyfriend will probably use that on his, but I try to stay away from dairy. But there's so much that you could do with this, and it's really filling. It's got a lot of protein, and as you guys could see, it stretches really far. Here is the frozen peppers and onions. I actually did have some in my freezer. So it says pepper stir fry. I cut the bag because I've already used it. But it was 14 ounces. And as you guys can see, they're peppers and onions. It's mostly onions and green peppers, but there are some colored peppers in there too. Sweet peppers, which is really nice. And so you can get this bag for $1. Every Dollar Tree by me has these, and they're really, really tasty. I know sometimes frozen vegetables at the Dollar Tree, I think their broccoli is good and their peppers and onions are good, but a lot of the other ones I don't really like. But these are really good. You should give them a try. Okay guys, so that is my frugal cooking video for the evening. I hope that it was helpful for some of you guys. And like I said, I get that comment and question quite a bit. There's a lot of people that are new to frugality. There's a lot of people that are new to government programs. A lot of people have been really affected by this pandemic, and there's a lot of people that were affected way before this. And, we're all just trying to learn together. So I welcome any comments, ways that I could improve this, ways to help each other, really encourage each other. So if you went out and bought this, let's say at the Dollar Tree, this is a $3 meal. And that bag of peppers, the bag of rice, the bag of beans, that would make countless meals. It really would. And I encourage you guys, if you're new to frugality, maybe have beans with almost every meal incorporated in. And you'll see, not everyone likes beans, but I really do. I really love beans. I love beans and rice. It's a big thing for me. And my boyfriend is Mexican and a Salvadorian, so he can eat beans and rice every day. And so he enjoys my cooking, which is really nice. So please subscribe to my channel. If you didn't know, I have an Instagram, The Frugal Life with Mercedes. And until next time, guys, bye.